In this video, we're going to talk about the determinants of trade, which is just what determines how much one country is going to trade with another. The largest determinant of trade is the size of the economy. So larger countries are going to be able to trade more often, and they'll trade more often with other countries which are larger. Other determinants of trade are different costs. And if you look at literature on determinants of trade, you'll see a gravity equation, which is made up of the distance and the size of the countries. So distance is going to be a large determinant of trade. Countries which are farther apart on the globe tend to trade less due to the fact that it takes a lot longer and there are a lot of higher costs to ship goods across the globe. Another determinant of trade is going to be past relationships. If, for example, Great Britain is your former colonizer, you are more likely to be a trade partner with Great Britain than otherwise. That's just a typical example because Britain famously, the sun never set on the empire of Britain at one point in time. So Britain was a large imperial colony, so was France, Portugal, and Spain, and those countries tend to have a lot of trade partners nowadays with their former colonies. Another determinant of trade is common language. So if you speak the same language as another country, you are more likely to develop trade relationships with that country due to the fact that you all speak the same language and don't have to overcome a language barrier. And another determinant of trade would be trade agreements. So the European countries that are in the European Union all have a trade agreement together, and they all trade more often due to the fact that they allow open borders and free trade amongst each other. An organization which promotes free trade is called the World Trade Organization. It was founded in 1995, and it replaced the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, which was developed after World War II in 1948. It oversees the trade agreements between countries and promotes trade, liberalization, or free trade between countries. One country which was recently allowed in the World Trade Organization is China, but they had to relax a lot of their China had to relax a lot of their production standards and kind of go back on some things in ways that they were producing goods because the World Trade Organization has labor and environmental standards. So a lot of countries have their own labor and environmental standards, and they will invoke some restrictions on trade, such as tariffs and embargoes, if other countries do not meet the same labor and environmental standards. These could include things as simple as GMOs or pollution restrictions, and they can be as complex as things like child labor laws. But mostly, Western civilizations try to promote fair trade with other countries which abide by the same labor and environmental standard as themselves. So in short, we can put blanket standards. So we can say that there are blanket labor standards. There's no child labor allowed, and you can't make this much pollutants. Or we can do this as a country-specific restrictions on trade. But the most common tactic to allow for free trade and then put labels on products that certify that they meet fair trade standards. So if you see this label on something you're purchasing, that means that there was no child labor and they had fairly low pollutants, at least as recognized by the World Trade Organization before they arrived in America.